So I welcome you with my whole heart to this journey, and I'm so excited to share this instruction or pedagogy of contemplative learning that we're going to share. So sit back, get comfortable, be at ease, find your body in this moment. Maybe shrug your shoulders, take a deep in breath, deep out breath, and just allow any tension just to release and give away any need to acquire or compete or seek validation, because this is your inner journey. And my hope and prayer for you is that you learn to embody these principles so deeply that when you watch a professional astrologer and they say, you know, Jupiter is going to be transiting this sign, this placement, you know, that you will know in your bones exactly what that's going to mean for you in your life. This is a different way of learning Jyotish or Vedic astrology. This is what you've signed up for, and this is where we're going. So, I want you to begin to look at Vedic astrology not as a system to be mastered or to spend your entire life, digging into the minutia, which you can. I mean, I've studied this ardently for 16 years, and you could really, it's never ending. It's never ending. But once you learn to embody these principles, you don't have to know so much. You can just relax into life, knowing these principles are working for you and not against you. So, this is a mirror of your own consciousness. This is a stream that we are entering, a stream of consciousness. And I hope you can really feel that as we move into it. Most students arrive learning in this first module nuts and bolts, how to read a birth chart, what are yogas, what do the planets mean, what do my planets mean. But this course invites something deeper, learning to embody the wisdom that Jyotish reveals about consciousness and the nature of consciousness itself. Authentic learning then will happen through direct encounter with the archetypal energies that each planet, sign, house, yoga, nakshatra, each embodiment of wisdom that they represent. So our conventional study that we learn today in the modern scholastic system, no matter really which country you originate from, memorize the basics, the basic significations of all of these technical aspects, apply the technical rules, master the framework, and then we're expected to bring some intuition and contemplation into those areas and come up and formulate a cohesive answer or a cohesive theme. But in this study that you're engaged in, we're entering the teaching to receive the classical wisdom from the masters and reflect with honest inquiry, which will then lead us to direct realization through our own contemplation and our own contemplative wisdom that will arise in you. But the Vedantic pedagogy is the overlay for our course together, because they are rooted in the same lineage, in the same wisdom stream. And so much of us here in the West, we cross pollinate crystal work with astrology, with Vedic astrology, with, goddess cards. Like, we're just a hodgepodge of spirituality in the West. And this is an attempt to bring back the consciousness stream of this deep, deep reservoir of millennia worth of wisdom. In the Upanishads, it said the self, or knowledge in our case, is to be seen, to be heard, to be reflected upon and then deeply meditated upon or assimilated. And that's going to be our core structure. The first step is what you're doing now, Shravana, sacred hearing, receiving classical teaching with an open and attentive awareness, which I can feel you doing right now. Next step, Manana, contemplative reflection, thinking the teaching through with honest, sustained inquiry. For most of you, you've never experienced what we're doing here together. That contemplative reflection, learning to trust your own intuitive wisdom, learning to trust your nervous system to let go and provide you with quality, positive feedback in your awareness. Third step, called nididhyasana, direct realization through contemplative reflection, allowing the teaching to settle into the ground of direct knowing and arise spontaneously in your own awareness as the truth of your own self. So these three component parts, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, are our three-step pedagogy for this class. So first, Shravana. Receiving the classical teaching, as I said, with open, attentive awareness. The teaching tradition is oral and lineage-based. The student does not begin by analyzing. She begins simply by listening. Shravana is receptive intelligence, allowing the wisdom of the tradition to land before interpreting mind moves in and scrambles it all up, our monkey mind. How this will appear in this course, the study of Brihat Parashara Horasastra and classical commentaries. This is our key, Parashara for short is our key scripture for this course together. There is some Sanskrit terminology like graha, which means planet, bhava, and rashi, house and sign. We're going to use both terms, both the English and the Sanskrit, because the Sanskrit is an evocative language. It evokes meaning by its very syllabary and its very sound. Also, to pay homage to the astronomical and cultural foundations of Jyotish as a Vedanga, as one of the limbs of the Vedic sciences. Then there's a historical transmission, learning within a lineage, not just a curriculum. I'm going to pass on to you the wisdom that was taught to me by my own teacher and guru, Swamiji. Third person inquiry is considered traditional scholarship. Shravana encompasses what Western academia calls third person inquiry, studying what others have discovered and transmitted. Within the Vedantic framework, however, this is not merely objective knowledge. We're not just learning facts, positionalities of planets. It is the first movement of the soul toward Brahma, toward the Atman, which is the soul, which is the source of all knowledge. Manana, contemplative reflection, thinking the teaching through with honest, sustained inquiry or reflection. When something lands with you, to sit with it, mull it over. Does it feel true? Does it sound true to you? Does it square with your own life experience? That's what we're looking for here. Manana is the movement of informed doubt. Having received the teaching, the student now brings it before her own intelligence, not to argue against it, but to think it through until it becomes genuinely understood in the inner landscape. This is where confusion is not the enemy, it is the sign that something real is being encountered. Just the thought of you are the universe, you are the mandala, that's enough to stir up all sorts of programming and all sorts of um, cognitive clutter that you may have in your own mind. It's like, how can I be the universe when I'm just Joe, right? So it's already beginning. How this will appear in this course as we move through, this is the launching of this course, but in the future we will schedule monthly satsangs where we can reflect in community about this process and about the teachings here. Questions arising from practice, from your own contemplative practice, will be brought into dialogue. We'll share openly what emerged in meditation with honest inquiry, learning from each other, discovering meaning through genuine intersubjective exchange, which is so valuable. In the Buddhist framework, second person inquiry is intersubjective dialogue, to dialogue about. Manana flows naturally through dialogue, the ancient form of Vedantic transmission between guru and shishya, guru and student. In the modern course, satsang sessions hold this function, a relational field in which reflection deepens through honest exchange rather than solo analysis. And finally, nididhyasana, direct realization from your own self, your own mind, allowing the teaching to settle into the ground of direct knowing. Nididhyasana is what happens after Shravana and Manana have done their work, when the teaching stops being an object of attention and becomes the ground from which one sees and knowledge arises from. The Vedantic tradition is unambiguous. This alone is liberation. Hearing Brahman, or knowledge, produces knowledge. Reflection makes it firm. Nididhyasana alone brings one to the auspicious samadhi, or knowing of the subject that you're studying. This corresponds to the Buddhist doctrine of first person inquiry that we studied at Naropa University. Critical subjectivity. Your direct experience is a legitimate source of knowledge. When held with disciplined attention, Nididhyasana asks us to distinguish genuine insight from habitual projection. Not all experience is realization, but realization can only come through your own experience. Another quote from the Mandakya Upanishad: to know that, one must approach a teacher who is learned in scripture and established in Brahman, and together we are that, whether we know that or not. The Vedantic tradition does not begin with a self-taught student. It begins with the disposition of receptivity. Approaching the teaching rightly means not only studying the text and handouts that I'll give you, but cultivating the inner posture in which wisdom can be received. And that means bowing yourself to yourself, allowing receptivity, building trust with me, knowing I would never do anything intentionally to mislead you, to give you false information, or to hurt you in any capacity. I only am in your corner, your ever well wisher, cheering you on from the sidelines. And I hope you take everything that Swamiji taught me and you increase this knowledge 1,000%, and this turn into a complete revolution in the spiritual, meditative Jyotish circles. That's my sincere wish for each one of you. Another aspect that we'll learn is contemplative reading. Reading not as consumers, but as Paul Griffith says, reading as lovers, because we love knowledge. First step, the initial encounter. Every sheet that I give you, every video that you watch, listen, absorb it slowly, Remain with the little literal words. Don't allow your mind to make assumptions about what I'm going to say next. Stay present as best you can. Do not reach for understanding and make your own assumptions. Simply receive what I'm sending to you. The second step is the repeated return. Come back multiple times to this information. Let curiosity develop. The text is not a container to empty, it is a companion along your journey of life. Number three is noticing layers. Allow meanings to remain fluid. Classical Jyotish texts carry multiple registers simultaneously. Gurus taught multiple layers of the same scripture, the same teaching, so that different students with different levels of acumen and understanding could get what they need. Gurus and wise teachers teach this way. They teach because they know our proclivities and our strengths and weaknesses. So just fully receive. Fourth is the contemplative pause. Once you attain some information, maybe you pull up your own chart using our widget for the first time. Sit with it, meditate with it without needing to know anything, and then step away from it. Allow insights to arise in the space after the reading. Then maybe there's some confusion. Where was Venus? I'll go back and sit with Venus alone. This is how we're going to move forward. And finally, personal response. Your voice, your knowledge, your wisdom emerges as resonance to the subject matter. Not agreement or disagreement, but simply recognition that this too is wisdom. So, how this course differs quickly. The conventional approach, we learn significations, we study techniques, which are very complex, and we practice interpretation over and over and over. The planets are symbols to memorize, charts as technical puzzles to solve, interpretation as a skill acquisition so we can show off how much we know. Astrology is only a predictive tool. A predictive tool for money, relationships, business. Nobody ever really cares if they're going to get enlightened in this lifetime, if they're going to meet a true guru, which the chart also shows. And the focus is mastering an external system that, let me tell you, is endless. This study is endless. It's bottomless. Our contemplative approach, using the three tools of Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, planets as living dimensions of consciousness, your own consciousness. Charts as maps of the soul's architecture, the soul's map that it chose before you took birth in this body. Interpretation as a contemplative encounter and a meditative experience. Astrology as a path to self-knowledge, awakening these universal archetypes in our own consciousness as a method of awakening. And the focus is exploring consciousness itself as written in the stars before you took birth. The subject matter is the same. The relationship to the teaching is entirely different, as you'll soon come to understand and appreciate. As an example, an embodied translation, classical texts become maps for exploring consciousness, not merely reference materials. Example, Shani, Lord Saturn, not merely a planet with significations. Shani is a quality of awareness you can directly encounter, the sacred weight of time, the teacher who refuses to let the soul rest in comfortable illusion. When you sit with Lord Shani in meditation, you are not studying a signification or a rendering on a piece of paper. You are entering a curriculum of the Lord of Time himself. Very different. Another example, the fourth house, the fourth bhava. It's the house of the emotional ground of our entire life structure. It's not merely a square on a chart, it's a portal into the very nature of emotional ground itself. It's your felt sense of belonging. It's home. It's of the mother and the field from which one emerges emotionally. To, to contemplate that is to discover something alive in your own psyche. I hope you can feel the mass difference in these two schemes. So, the final message here: trust this process because it works. Trust the teachings because they're authentic and valid. And more importantly, trust your own capacity to know directly once you're shown. Once it's pointed out to you, learn to feel, hear, see, and know the truth of these wise teachings. My last message: when confusion arises, and it will, especially if this is your first glance at astrology, there's no problem. It's the ground from which insight emerges. It is the nature of Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana working is exactly as they should. Now I'm going to introduce you to my Guruji Swamiji, and I hope you've enjoyed this initial presentation. And again, so grateful to be on this journey with you. So I'll see you in the next video. Namaste. This is the second part of our module 1 video introduction. And I wanted to introduce you to Swamiji myself instead of just another PDF in your basket for this module. So this is Guruji, Swamiji, and some people called him Swami Yogananda Prabhu. Some people called him Swami Prabhu Yogananda. That's what he always referred himself to me as, is Prabhu Yogananda. And most people world over just call him Swamiji. He was a Himalayan yogi. He took sannyas sometime in the 1970s as a young man after completing his master's in organic chemistry. He walked off into the jungle and never came back. And he spent over 35 years traveling around as a yogi and a sannyasi. He never had a guru. He never had a lineage himself other than his wise relatives that taught him astrology and Bhagavad Gita. That was the two teachings that he received from his very wise and influential family somewhere in South India. I don't know. He's never told anyone, as far as I know, because traditional sannyasi, they burn their clothes and they, in effigy, burn themselves on the funeral pyre, and they never look back. And so Swamiji came into my life in 2009 in a place where I was really, from my heart, praying to the universe for a teacher. I really had developed that devotion, and I needed someone to help me because I was tired of reading spiritual books and trying to figure it out on my own. So Swamiji came into my life in a very auspicious way back in 2009, and he was in my life for 16 years. And he and I traveled. I traveled with him in India for a month at a time, and saw many holy places, many dips in the Ganges, many sacred temples that I was able to get into because of him. Traveled extensively in Himachal Pradesh, where he lived, in the foothills to the Himalayas, and saw many amazing things. And all over North India, and to the major tourist sites in India itself. But back to Swamiji, he was very rare. He was a village Vedic astrologer, and his knowledge of Vedic mathematics and the way his mind could calculate a chart was just stupendous. He didn't need to see my chart, and it might have been a couple of years since we were physically together, and I would ask him questions about a certain yoga or certain dasha running, and he would simply do math out loud based on my planets, and he knew which house they were in, and what was being impacted. He was impeccable. I've never seen anybody calculate mentally the way he could. But I just want to give this just brief introduction to Swamiji. He was a rare synthesis of traditional yogic wisdom and contemplative innovation. He gave teachings like this: I kept my eyes, ears, and mind open, collected data of my body, constitution, as well as that of the cosmos, potentials of my subconscious mind, and also that of subatomic particles. So you can see he had consolidated the models of inward and outward. Computing and consolidating of my thoughts led me to understand life, living, and very being. This resulted in the harmony of my thoughts and peace of mind. Wouldn't that be wonderful to achieve? So again, after he took sannyas, Swamiji spent decades in deep contemplative practices across India, particularly in the jungles and in the mountains. After he received some sort of an illumination, he would always stop short of calling it enlightenment. He thought his life was over, and maybe perhaps he should go throw himself in the river like some yogis do. Like that was the purpose of his life. But he was given a very, very strong message that now his life was to serve others, which is what he spent the rest of the decades that he was on this earth doing, and encouraging people, mainly counseling young families and school-aged children on how to learn and use their minds. Here's a cute picture of Swamiji picking up his new Gadi, his new car that somebody purchased for him back in 2019. He was very proud of this, and I happened to be there with him. And the car dealer had us both use the scissors to cut the ribbon for Swamiji's new car. That was such a wonderful memory. He taught that our greatest remedy does not lie in external rituals, but the proper use of our own mind. Through observation, contemplation, and evaluation, we can transform our relationship with planetary influences. He integrated yogic practice with the study of Jyotish, revealing how meditation and self-inquiry can unlock the deeper archetypal wisdom encoded in every birth chart, including yours. Couple of more shots. This is us in Himachal Pradesh in 2019. This was a Ma Devi temple that he meditated at and served chai to other yogis and sannyasis that came through for many years. And I was very fortunate that he took me to this place where he achieved what he would call something. Again, he would stop short of saying enlightenment, but the wisdom was definitely there. So you can see the smile on my face. I have a lot more hair now than I did then, but I was so happy and honored that I got to go to that place. So Amiji left his physical form in March of 2005. And the few hundred devotees that I'm aware of are still sort of connected loosely. And he taught each one to their capacity. He taught some yoga, advanced yoga asana. He taught some Havan Puja, and he taught me. I was already a kirtan singer and a bhakta. He encouraged me to continue to sing in the path of devotion, but he gave me Jyotish. He gave me astrology, and I didn't want it. But he knew there was some kind of capacity that I had, and so this course represents him. It represents my years hard fought wisdom, trying to get wisdom from him, and just the consummation of all of these wisdom streams coming together. And so this is included in your packet for module 1. I have a link here to Guruji's website that some of his devotees keep up. So if you'd like to read more about Swamiji, and I hope you do, please go to swami.ism.org and peruse his thoughts, his musings about things. Very practical. You'll see very practical wisdom. And I hope you enjoy that journey as well. And so I want to say thank you to Guruji. Without him, none of this would have been possible. And I hope you can feel my devotion for him. And wherever he is now, I feel like he's blessing this course. He is blessing you directly. And we'll just keep that flow going in his honor. So, Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om. Hey, I bow, I surrender to the feet of the Guru, which is inside each of us as you will continue to learn. Okay, so this is my further welcome to Module 1, and I hope you enjoyed this little snapshot about Swamiji. Okay, namaste, beloved. I'll see you very soon.